Now available in paperback and e-readers, A Steam Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. A New York judge has ruled that Reddit and YouTube must face civil lawsuits for allegedly enabling Buffalo grocery mass shooter Peyton Gendron. Now, back in, I believe, 2020, Peyton Gendron, an 18-year-old young man, drove 3 hours to a predominantly black part of Buffalo to the Tops supermarket and implemented a mass shooting that he had planned for an extended period of time that led to the deaths of 10 people at that Tops supermarket. That was done basically because Peyton Gendron wanted to murder black people. And this lawsuit that is being filed is alleging that social media companies like YouTube and Reddit enabled this Buffalo mass shooter, Peyton Gendron, to be motivated to participate in this crime because their website featured technology that was designed to addict users like Peyton Gendron. And as these individuals were addicted to watching this content, they became radicalized to the point where they were motivated to participate in a mass shooting. Now, this whole lawsuit basically does have a strong ground, as I see it, as a guy who's been using the internet for over 20 years, because when I look at the technology that YouTube has implemented to get people to continue to watch content, and companies like Reddit have used, it basically is something that could basically mess with the minds of users who go on these platforms. Now, when it comes to platforms like YouTube and Reddit, they have been investing heavily in things like what they call the algorithm, and you'll hear many YouTubers talk about the algorithm and how it basically makes it where you can get more views if you produce content that is more favorable to the algorithm. Now, this algorithm basically puts content in front of a viewer. If they go out here and type in certain messages, you will get more of that content if you continue to watch that kind of content. And what can happen with that whole thing in the wrong hands is that when you have an individual who's used to watching certain kinds of content, what they will do is, as they're watching that kind of content, the algorithm will suggest more of that content to them, and that can make a person addicted to continuing to watch more videos than the ones that they chose to watch. And when it comes to beta males, again, they have a highly addictive mindset. So what can happen in these cases is that individual, if you put this kind of content in front of them, the algorithm will suggest even more after they watch one video, and they'll watch more of those videos, allowing those content creators to get more views. Now, in the case of Peyton Gendron, what is alleged is that Peyton Gendron basically was one of these guys watching a lot of racist videos on YouTube and looking at a lot of racist and white supremacist message boards. And as he was looking at these racist and white supremacist videos on YouTube, what has happened is the algorithm suggested more of that content, and as it suggested more of that content to Peyton Gendron, what is alleged in these civil lawsuits is that he became addicted to this kind of content, and as he became addicted to watching this kind of content, what happened to Peyton Gendron as he imbibed this content is he started to enter into what I called in my book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace, an echo chamber. And as he entered into this echo chamber, he was basically being told what he wanted to hear. And as he was being told what he wanted to hear, what happened was he became radicalized by this misinformation. And as he got radicalized by this misinformation, what happened to him is that he got motivated, as according to this lawsuit, to participate in this series of plans for this mass shooting. And that's what the lawsuit is claiming. And I believe that this lawsuit has strong merit based on what I have seen regarding behavior on social media platforms ever since these algorithms have been implemented. Now, from what I've seen regarding ever since these algorithms have been implemented, is I've been seeing a lot of individuals participating in this pattern of behavior where they'll watch one video, and then what they'll do, as the algorithm suggests more videos to them, they'll go looking for those videos and continue to watch those videos. And as they get told what they want to hear as related to opinions, what happens is those individuals, it becomes an echo chamber because they get told what they want to hear. And as they get told what they want to hear, they get more and more obsessed with continuing to click. And again, companies want people to click because that's how they make money. The more clicks you make on different websites, the more money the search engine makes, the more money the YouTuber makes. So what's happening here is that people go out here and they think they're doing research, but what they're being done is steered to information. And I've seen this done with not only YouTube and Reddit, I've also seen it done with different things like Google searches and Yahoo searches and other types of search engines like MSN. I mean, what happens is they don't give you objective information like the year 2000. Now, as somebody who was on the internet in the year 2000, I can tell you it's a completely different experience where you not only got the points as related to what you're searching for, you got the counterpoints as well. But these days with the algorithm, what they want to do is go out and basically give you information that is slanted, and that's where I see the core of this case being strong as related to trying to prove these companies liable, because we've seen with the pandemic, they have basically been slanting information, and again, that slant could basically make it where these people who are looking for information that basically proves their points as related to racism and white supremacy basically prove their case. And again, what happens is, as these people look for this misinformation, and they get more misinformation, because what happens when they go out here and go into the echo chamber, you're getting all of this misinformation from these racist websites, from these racist platforms, and again, you get all of this misinformation, and what happens to that person is they become addicted to this misinformation because it's telling them what they want to hear, it's making them feel good, and as it makes them feel good, what happens is they start to feel like they get some sort of confidence, and that confidence is the thing that makes them motivated to go out here and participate in these violent crimes like the mass shooter Peyton Gendron did when he decided to go to the top supermarket in Buffalo and murder 10 people. And that's where these social media companies could be held liable, because their implementation of these algorithms basically are adding fuel to the fire of these racist and these white supremacists, and turning them into weapons by giving them the information inside of these echo chambers. I go in depth on this in my book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace, because when it comes to beta males, like I talk about in The Man Crisis, and cyber simps, a lot of these individuals, they live in a rose-colored reality, and as they live in a rose-colored reality, they don't really see the world the way we do. And when they get a hold of misinformation, which is what we're seeing as a disturbing trend with the internet these days, a lot of folks want to present a lot of misinformation as information. And what's happening on the information superhighway is, as these people get detoured with this misinformation, they get locked in an echo chamber. And as they get locked in the echo chamber, what happens to those individuals as they get locked in the echo chamber is they hear all of this stuff and they get addicted to it because it validates their rose-colored reality in the places like I call the secret world in The Man Crisis. And as it validates their life in the secret world, it basically, again, just emboldens these individuals to be motivated to participate in these crimes. And that's where we have a problem as related to these racists being motivated for violence, Moreover, we have a problem with the racism on these platforms because it clearly shows a bias as related to how these sites are policed. Because while these sites say that they have community guidelines for things like hate speech and things like all sorts of different things that violate community guidelines, it's interesting that these individuals can remain on these platforms for months and even years and not really be challenged by the things that many black content creators have to deal with. Now, I find it interesting that these individuals, again, can be on these platforms for years and be on there talking about all sorts of radical stuff, such as the man who decapitated his father. I mean, I remember that just a couple of months ago, I did an entire Man Crisis video on this guy who was a white supremacist. I mean, he had been on the YouTube platform for years, participating in hate speech that clearly violated the community guidelines. And after he murdered his father and held up his decapitated head, that video remained on YouTube for several hours, and it wasn't until police found out about the incident that the video was actually taken down. And in other cases, many of these individuals have again been on here speaking all sorts of hate speech regarding black people for years. However, when it comes to black content creators have suffered as a result of unofficial policies at social media platforms to prevent us from being able to talk about different topics. And that's another part of the issues as related to the lawsuit. I mean, you'll have them sitting there, again, creating these echo chambers for racist and white supremacists. However, if a black person were to go on here and make some content talking about black empowerment, talking about things like group economics, if you had heterosexual black men talking about certain topics, what would happen within the end of an hour of that video premiering on YouTube or being posted on YouTube is that video would be flagged and that video would be taken down, and that clearly shows the racist double standard as related to the platform. And again, that's what is another component of the lawsuit, the open discrimination against black content creators who having to deal with this algorithm. We also had to deal with things like shadow bans whenever we talk about black empowerment. Meanwhile, if you put up content talking about the gender wars, about black men and black women bashing each other, or you have content where you have black people twerking or black people just acting real ghetto, that content is allowed to stay on the platform, showing how this algorithm possibly is discriminatory towards black people and possibly racist. And that's basically something that could be possibly proven in court, because if your algorithm is again shadow banning people for talking about black empowerment or flagging their videos within an hour, meanwhile racist content like the one Peyton Gendron listened to and the man who decapitated his father listened to, that content is shown to be on the air for an extended period of time, then there clearly is a case for not only discrimination, but it could also be able to prove that it enabled the Buffalo mass shooter. Because when I look at the case of these algorithms, they basically are provable to say that, yeah, this could have enabled this individual the same way many radical Islamic terrorists, they were online and they get radicalized by misinformation. I mean, what's been happening is that these websites, again, out here, they basically with these algorithms feed people information, and that information addicts people because they're getting told what they want to hear. And as they're told what they want to hear, what they do is again get that rush of dopamine, get that hit of dopamine, and as they get that hit of dopamine, they want more of that dopamine, and they go out here looking to get more clicks, and it's related to content that makes them feel good. And that also, again, is the thing that radicalizes people, and again, radicalizes people to believe that they are motivated to participate in violence. And that could be the thing that could basically change the way platforms like Reddit and YouTube present their content, because As I see it, again, if these algorithms are motivating people to participate in violence, then maybe it's time we got away from algorithms and started presenting a more objective form of search, and a more objective form of search that allows people to get access to information from a more objective perspective. Now, Mr. Chris from Chris & Company sent me this article, and I really wanted to talk about it in depth because I've seen the internet change, and again, I've seen the internet change because we've got a lot of individuals who really don't really see how the internet is giving them bad information. And I talk more about in depth on how the internet can really mess up your life in my book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. And you can find that book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace, at online booksellers like Amazon.com, Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and you can also find it at big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to see me make more videos talking about the internet, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Now available in paperback and Kindle, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Learn how to avoid predatory females like Instagram models and e-girls in their virtual con games with Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Get your copy of Stop Simping in Cyberspace in paperback and Kindle today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.